Thanks. Thanks. Sorry, Tyson, take it away.
So my background in teaching is 2004. I worked at an English conversation school in Japan, like a major corporate national one. I did that for 1.5 years. While I was there, I taught both kids and adults. After that, I transitioned as a public school teacher. They call it ALT in Japan, where you assist a Japanese language teacher. Did that for about I would say 4 years, doing a little bit of elementary, junior, and senior high school. Uh, did 1 year of translation after that. Dislike translation. Let's say I think teaching is way more fun than translation for me personally. And after that, I became a manager for a company called Interact in Japan, and I would say they're the second biggest employer of English teachers in Japan. So they have about 3,000 teachers, full-time teachers, and I was a trainer and manager, managing 150 full-time teachers. So in terms of problems that can happen with teachers, because there was 150 people, even if you have a 1% possibility of happening problem, there was one of those every week, or sorry, every month. So it's I've seen pretty much almost every type of problem that you can see managing teachers from, and we did have to do drug screening 1 year for about 150 teachers. And so that wasn't a pleasant experience, but and it was a good experience in the sense that I learned to become a very good manager. The reason for that is in the junior high school side, I would say probably 70% of the teachers don't want to be there in Japan for teaching a junior high school. So I became a master of being a good manager and pain reduction. So how do I make the work environment as best I could for them? In the elementary school side, I would say probably 40, 50%. I would say maybe, yeah, probably 40, 50% didn't want to be there. So it was a really good experience for me on learning how to become a manager. And also, in some cases, I had to deal with a lot of veteran teachers, some teachers who taught 20 years, 10 years, 20 years, who are much more experienced than me, but being able to, I had to learn how to communicate in a compassionate, but also helping them to see that there was room to grow for them, but also respecting them for being older than I am. After that, I was there for about 3 years. I pretty much did all I could, and I would say pretty much the company didn't give us much budget, and I did tons of things where it didn't require budget. But and a lot of the things I introduced are still here even 8 years later. So one thing I created is I created a teacher Olympics where we would have various teaching topics, and one person would have to go up in front of everybody, and everyone would vote on who the best teachers are. And the great thing about having a teachers Olympics is sometimes you have teachers who, in their mind, they think they're the best teacher, and they communicate like they're the best teacher, and they kind of push themselves around. But based on the teacher Olympics, we knew who the best teachers really were, and that really improved our teaching culture. In that, the teachers who did the really great job, they got the respect that they deserved. And the loudest teachers, they lost a lot of their power and influence through the teaching Olympics. And so after that, I founded a company called One Coin English with two Japanese guys. One of them is, I would say, a franchise and chain specialist. We're not a franchise, but he was a specialist in creating chains, chain shop stores. The other one was a very high level marketer. So we had a really good combination. You have the marketer, you have the shop specialist, then you have me for doing the recruitment, training, management of teachers. And the goal was always to become a national brand. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have been national already. But so yeah, that's where I came in, where because I already had experience managing 150 teachers, so they just needed me to do that. I did that for about 6 years until we got about to 8 schools. Then I realized that if I ever wanted to be an entrepreneur in the future, I would have to diversify myself from just management training and recruitment. So I created a subsidiary called Japan Switch. It's a Japanese language school for beginners and no test prep, no business, just beginners and how to do conversation, uh, learn how to do marketing. And I built that up to a half a million US revenue in 1 year as a more, and we only operate for 20 hours a week. So there's a lot of, we decided to use our open space in the morning for Japanese, afternoon and evenings for English. So I think I could have brought it to over a million US in 1 year, definitely if I could have operated in the evenings and weekends. But anyhow, COVID hit, and we got about to 200 students in 1 year, active students. Then despite COVID, I've been able to get to 250, despite no foreigners being able to enter Japan for the last 2 years. So it's been a really uphill battle. It's kind of the term I like to use is it's been like a street fight. Just there's been so many, I think everyone here can relate, but COVID has been a headache. And just in a street fight being you just have to use what's around you to win and being very creative to survive. And yeah, so that's pretty much that part. And for me, I've always wanted to be a CEO, and that's the reason why I created the first company. So I'm actually leaving the first company at the end of this month. I'll retain my stocks, and I'm going 100% in just being a CEO. So I do coaching for business owners. I would say I have around 20 clients, and I would say half of them are language school owners. For language school owners, the things I usually help them with is marketing, operations. Operations meaning how do you reduce work? So there's a lot of things you do. So how to reduce work, helping them with recruitment, and I also help them with developing their managers. So I think a lot of schools in the 2 to 3 range, the reasons they have a hard time going from 2 to 3 schools to maybe 6 to 10, or let's say, or maybe growing from 500 to 1,000 or 1,000 to 2,000 is usually the managers are quite weak. So the owner might be strong, very good manager, but their management team is very weak. So with several owners, I'm coaching their management team because in business you have kind of entry level workers, you have managers, you can have like even within managers, just junior managers, let's say average, and let's say kind of senior managers, but you have entry level managers, senior level, then you have executive level. And in my case, I've been able to go to an executive level, so I can help train people in the managers to become senior managers. And I can explain more about that if that's curious, but I help really bring the management team to more senior level because that's what you really need to grow from maybe like 500 to 1,000 or 1,000 to 2,000 students. And yeah, so I do 50% language schools. I do 50% non-language schools because I ran operations for my company, I ran HR, and I just like to keep my brain stimulated. So I like to do 50-50. And so, and yeah, so I guess that's a bit of introduction for myself.
Thanks, Tyson. That's great. I just kind of also we've spoken before on podcasts, and I know you're a couple of things. You HR is your background and kind of a passion of yours in developing staff. Also, scaling. I know we talked about on the podcast and elsewhere about from 2 and 8 schools and how what challenges and how the challenges are different from those. And also, I know you like marketing, and also you've had to transition online as well, from bricks and mortar to online school, and not so easy in Japan, is it? I mean, it's a complete sea change. Japanese culture traditionally didn't have web conferences, and online schools didn't have any value, and things just COVID hit, and everything changed. So I just want to kind of introduce a few people. I know Rita has oh, I'm gonna get all this wrong now. Sorry, Rita. Can you introduce yourself, please, and just quickly, and we'll go around the houses and
Okay,
Yeah.
please excuse my squeaky voice. I haven't got COVID, but it feels somewhat similar. So I've been teaching EFL for over 50 years, but the last 37 years, excuse me, my husband and I have been running a residential centre for total immersion for basically middle and senior executives, professional people, doctors, lawyers, and companies. So our major company has been Siemens, Michelin, the internationals. But during that time, I've developed an accelerated whole brain approach to language learning, particularly grammar. I'm not absolutely focused on grammar, but students are. So you meet them where they are and help to make it easy for them. But I'm much more interested in communication than perfect grammar. And basically, Duncan is just completing the first set of videos, which are 62 videos covering the whole of the English tense system, including a bit of pronunciation, such as emphasis and so forth, which we want to launch online because the actual residential business is now coming to an end. It's had its day. And there's more and more demand for online. So we're still doing the odd course here for people who really, really want to come and have an immersion course. But we insist that they do the training mostly online first, and then they come here just to put it all into practice and have a sort of guided holiday. So that's basically us. But so my passion is this holistic, whole brain, accelerated way of learning English, and I'm in my 70s, so that's where I want to finish my career.
Thanks, Rita. We'll just go along quickly. Rob and Karen, if we can get 1 minute from each of you, maybe.
Could I ask Rita one quick question?
Oh, yeah, sorry,
Just for your course, is it a cohort-based method or just purely online let's say, learn at your own pace?
Do you know, these are some of the questions we have to answer, but it's at your own pace. I think it's going to be probably a subscription.
Gotcha. I would consider cohort, but
okay.
And that could be a question later, but yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, I didn't really know how to run this, but it's kind of happening organically. But yeah, so we'll just quick introduction from everybody, 1 minute, and then we'll get to some questions for Tyson. Rob, because you're kind of on my left here, so I'm moving left to right.
Okay, so basically I'm Rob. I'm originally from the States, taught in Brazil for about 16 years, now in Poland for about 5 or 6, been online for 20 years. My background is actually business, so I was a businessman in the States, so I work with executives, lawyers, doctors, very similar to Rita, and deal with top-level execs because they have the money, whether it be with basically doing the same thing, teaching them to communicate, building confidence, and everything else. And in my spare time, I spend it with Philip on the phone, saving the world.
Thanks, Rob. Karen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Karen Lavecchia, and as you can tell from the screen, I have 2 different businesses, NY Edits. I am a longtime New Yorker, now living in Busan, South Korea, which is Korea's 2nd largest city, home of beautiful Haeundae Beach, which is just steps from my door. And this is my 2nd stint in Korea. I spent a couple of years in Seoul pre-pandemic. From there, I had signed on to go to a language institute in Shenzhen, China, because it was my dream to be teaching in China. And basically, the pandemic wrecked that. And now I'm coming up on very, very close to aging out of China because I'll be hitting my 60th birthday in the middle of May. So I still have Chinese students. I worked with a number of Chinese companies during the pandemic, but then all of a sudden, like about 80% of my business fell away because no native teachers unless you're actually on site and you're contracted with a school. So my Chinese business has been pretty much blown to pieces. So now I was thinking about looking at Japan, possibly Taiwan. My dream was to move every year throughout Asia to a different country, but during the pandemic where I began really teaching online, I've actually kind of revised that. So I have an editing business and I help people write better business English, no matter, what first language that they speak. And then I have a teaching business. So yeah, I teach TOEFL, speaking and writing, which is what I do at the academy where I am now. I also teach American literature. I also teach writing skills improvement. I taught SAT reading com. So I'm constantly expanding. I'm just about to finish, hopefully by the end of this month, a TOEIC instructor training. So I also do IELTS speaking too, which is also fun for me. I really like the test prep market, and that seems to be, where the money is, where the action is. For me, that's where the fun is.
I did
Thanks,
have one
Karen.
thought.
Lisa,
Yeah,
yeah, we got the mute thing.
I think
At least they tell you. Sorry.
one of the top 5 skills to have in the world is one is programming,
Mm-hmm.
presentation, negotiation, sales. The 5th one is copywriting.
Mm.
So it's so I think I haven't really seen it in the English industry yet, but the person who can master teaching copywriting
Mm-hmm.
to people of a country where they don't want to hire foreigners in their company, so they want to get someone from their country to write in English.
Right.
If they can, whoever masters that segment, I think you can charge a lot of money.
Yeah, I think I will probably eventually. I just spoke to, I know this is longer than a minute, Phil, but just give me 30 seconds. I actually
Sure.
spoke earlier yesterday to, I put out I contacted a firm in Seoul, and they said, if you're a foreigner and you want to start a business in Korea, give us a call. So I actually had kind of an exploratory 30-minute call. And I think that might be my niche, particularly in Seoul, where a lot of the business documentation in English, the level of English is just horrific. So I think that might be my next niche to fill. Yes, Rob?
Yeah, if I can add to that, I do that in Western Europe, and kind of you're a copywriter, you're a translator, so
Mm,
it's a brand new job. I've named it Copulator, and you can charge 5 times the price of, a teaching hour.
yeah, yeah. I
It's
wouldn't want to give up teaching, but I would definitely want to move in that direction because I come from a publishing background. I had a career as a managing editor. So I did a lot of editorial and managing of other editors. So that's me. Thanks for the extra
Oh yeah,
time.
no problem. Lisa, please, if we like to just give a few seconds there.
Hi, yeah, sorry. Yeah, my name's Lisa. I'm living in Spain. I'm originally from the UK, and I'm very new to the business world. And to be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how far I'm going to get into it. My heart tends to rule my head, and I just can't seem to get out of my teacher mode and get into business mode. I still teach in a secondary school in Spain, English as a foreign language, but I'm in the process of transitioning online as a language coach. I qualified as a neuro language coach, and very much like Rita, I'm really into the whole person approach. So I teach, I help learners to build confidence and to improve their fluency, but not just concentrating on the language, all the other things which go with it, which are the mindset, motivation, strategies, habit forming, and building community. Community really is what I'm into. So I'm currently running my very first program. I've only got 5 students, so probably the least experienced of everybody here. But is a fantastic community of 5 and me, and I'm loving it. But I just don't know if I've got the business head to really make it become a business. I don't know. I'm kind of just testing the waters, I suppose.
I think if you can frame your business in a way where the more your business succeeds, the more your customers succeed. I think that might help to ease the helper teacher in you. Where the better you get at business, actually, it's better for the student than you being a better teacher. And I think you can find the way to do that.
I have to say, I mean, you know, I'm going to lots of courses, lots of webinars, lots of conferences, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I mean, I've learned so much over the past 2-3 years, but it's completely new territory for me. You know, I've spent 25 years being a teacher in the classroom, and it's really hard to get out of that mindset. You know.
Great. Okay, so let's move on. Aziz, if we can get a few seconds from you there, please.
Hi everyone, very happy to meet you all. Thanks for the invitation, Philip.
Yeah, sorry about the links, by the way, for everybody who got the right. I emailed them individually to other people, so it was just it duplicated with Calendly, and anyway, I won't go into that. But sorry, Aziz, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm actually an EFL teacher, and I'm also a mode trainer. So I like help teachers implement technology in their classrooms. I also like to call myself an author. I wrote some articles and some books related to grammar teaching and implementing technology in the classroom. I am also the manager of Everyone Academy with other teachers from different parts of the world. So the main mission of the academy is to provide free academic webinars for teachers across the globe, and we offer certificates, and we also now are starting to create online courses. The process is very challenging, and it's really sometimes it's frustrating, but we are trying to keep going this regard. So that's pretty much a quick introduction about me.
Nice to meet you, Aziz.
Nice to meet you all. Philip, you are muted.
Got it now. Got the thing. So, Kate, would you like to give a quick introduction?
Hi, my name's Kate. I live in Newfoundland, Canada. Right now, I have a bilingual job with the federal government. I have a background in teaching English as a second and as a foreign language. And I haven't joined any of these webinars before, but I'm glad I was able to make it today. It's interesting so far.
Great, thanks, Kate. I love your accent, by the way. It's fantastic. Yeah. And Nina, please.
Hi, everyone.
Nice.
Sorry I'm late. I had something going on, and but I'm happy to be here. I'm speaking to you from Sydney, Australia, and I have a language school, a language center in Indonesia that I've been running for 15 years. And it's a brick and mortar institution, but since the pandemic, a whole new world of online learning has opened up for us. And so we deliver a lot of our courses online now on Zoom. So that's a little bit about us.
Great, thanks, Nina. Okay, so I think we'll just open the floor. Rita, if I'd like to start with you, because I think you've been waiting patiently, and you already had a conversation begun. So please take it away. About courses. You were talking about courses and Tyson.
Yes.
Yeah.
So far we've Duncan has made in fact Lisa has seen them, videos which actually show the pattern of the language rather than describing it in abstract meta language. And the reason we started producing them was because I'd been to so many conferences and people had said, brilliant, where's the material? And it's still in here, or it's in my training room. But now that we're getting near to the final sort of the completion of the videos, it's how we're going to sell it. And the training is relevant for teachers who want to understand how to present tenses, but also for sort of intermediate to upper intermediate students on their own. It wouldn't be suitable for beginners, but how to scale it as a cohort, that's I'd like to hear some advice on that, Tyson.
So the reason, so I guess my first question would be, are they paying their own money or are their companies paying?
Um, well, with the teachers, I think it would pretty much be their own money. So
Gotcha.
where to pitch the price is one thing.
So,
Sorry, and
uh,
to give you an example, for now, we've always had business students. We just recently had a discussion with Siemens, who we used to be one of their preferred suppliers. They've now, since COVID, they've got a completely new policy. They've signed up to some language learning platform where each participant pays €3 per session. You know, but if anybody wants an immersion course, they will still have our name up there, but we're not we're not promoted anymore as a supplier. But we don't want we don't want to do the residential immersion full time anyway, because we're using our accommodation for vacation, staycation as they call it, and that's going quite well. So basically, I don't excuse me, I don't know how to pitch the price, or I've got lots of contacts, but before I start leveraging them, I want to have some idea what I'm trying to do.
gotcha. So I think those would be different approaches. So
Yeah.
I have one client who does online, or they made an app, but now they're doing courses, and I push them in the direction of doing cohort courses. And the reason I like cohort versus standard do-it-yourself courses is the amount of people who actually do-it-yourself courses, the amount of people who actually complete the course is abysmally low. Like I think like 10 to 15% of people complete courses. And the problem with that is you're going to end up becoming essentially a marketing company or sales company, meaning people, you get them in the course, they don't finish the course. They might just buy one course and it's like sayonara. So you're spending all this energy just to get people to the course. But with the cohort model, what I like about that is with the cohort model, it depends. I think not just for the teacher's case, I think it could work, but what we will do is you'll get people into the cohort where they get to work with you, they get to ask you a lot of questions. Seeing other people learn, it kind of pushes them to learn more. So you'll have a much higher completion rate. But what I like about that model is that after they complete your course, you could sell them probably a monthly membership course. Let's say like $30 a month, $50 a month. We'll have a weekly chat with Rita to deepen our thoughts. We'll have the forums. You can discuss with one another, and you'll have a much more engaged audience. And that will help you get word of mouth, or like, let's say, more of an organic, like friends introducing each other, as opposed to if you just sell the courses. I think you'll be very heavily marketing based.
Yes, I mean, I had realized that although the videos will actually have downloadable practice exercises with keys and stuff, I had realized that that people need the face-to-face. And the analogy I use is I go to Pilates classes. I know all the exercises. If I disciplined myself, I could do it every day alone, but I need my instructor there saying, come on now, and you can, sort of. So I was very clear about that. But I really haven't thought about, how to scale it as a cohort. But that's, I mean, I suppose you're reinforcing the kind of understanding I've been coming to.
And also, I think in your case, because of your experience, I also think that that's a great selling point. I get to do a cohort with Rita. She's taught for 50 years. Maybe she spent 20, 30 years on this methodology. I get to spend my time with the premier.
Yeah.
So I think that's...
Actually, I've just been contacted by somebody who came to a workshop of mine in Hamburg in 1998. He said he'd been meaning to get in touch with
wow.
me. Anyway, he wanted to know if he could send students to me, but also he's very interested. I've shared this approach with him, and he said, oh boy, he said, I've learned, this sounds as if I'm blowing my trumpet, but he said, I've learned so much myself as a trainer from my conversation with you in the last half hour. You should be charging mega rates. I said, well, money isn't my big motivation, but I do want to get the I want to spread the approach because I think it's just good for people to have it, and it applies to other languages as well. It's just an accelerated way of learning. So
And I think based on your personality, I think you might like it. I think you would enjoy the cohort method more. And
right,
also, I think it would give you a lot of opportunities to refine and even further improve your methodology.
yeah, thank you. So have you, when you talk about cohort, what sort of numbers are you thinking of?
So my client's case, they actually have a cohort of 200.
Right.
But in their case, it's I think it's possible in your case, but it's really the forums.
Yep.
It's, let's say, setting up forums where you do your session, you give homework,
Uh-huh.
they can discuss this homework in the forums.
Yep.
And I think that makes it really sticky. I think, and they'll get a lot more out of the course. And so I think personally, let's say, them paying 200 versus maybe like, maybe 200 quid versus like 1,000 quid for like that personal attention.
Yeah.
It's going to make all the difference in the world.
Thank you for that.
And if you do the cohort method too, you'll be easily get a lot of testimonials.
Yes. Yes.
Tyson, just want to say one thing. I didn't actually mention this. You know, it's anyway, learning on the job here. But if you were available, maybe for the next week or so, that you know some of the members could get in contact with you if they have any follow-up questions. You know, we maybe add you to the WhatsApp group, and you know, just for a week or so, and then you know we'll be out of your hair. But great. Next, Rob, if you'd like to, or hello, Aurelia. Nice to see you. I know it's early in the morning over there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Aurelia, would you like to just introduce yourself just briefly, and if you have a question for Tyson?
Yes. I've been teaching for about 30 years or so. I taught in the classroom for about 20 of those years. For the last 4 or 5 years, I'm strictly online. So I mainly teach English as a second language. I do a little bit of Spanish. So I've been in the recent years been focusing on the TOEFL. So I like academic English. I like learning myself, so that makes a nice fit for me. So I'm kind of looking to how to break into that market a little bit more and just try to specialize more.
Nice to meet you, Aurelia.
Yes, same here. Yes, I read a lot about you. So yeah, looking forward to hearing more from you.
Great. Rob, I know you're off mute there. You're chomping at the bit to get involved. No? Okay. Nina, is there anything you'd like to ask there?
I don't have a question, but I do want to add that I've also discovered recently that what's the name of that other model? So there's the cohort model, and then what is that? A self-access model? What's the right term for that?
I forgot it, but it's like learn at your own pace, I think.
Right, self-paced, yeah. Self-paced, self-study, self-access. Actually, I think the numbers for that, for completion of a course, is very low, even lower than what you said, under 10%.
It might actually be single digits.
If you have 15%, actually, you're very successful. But I think all of us here, coming from an education background, and being educators, well, as far as I can see, most of us, we have that educator in us. We would really appreciate and understand the benefits of a cohort, and you can do something blended. You can have a version that allows you to have a cohort where you can have interaction with people and have a tutor, and then also give access, and as you mentioned, having membership access, things like that. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Nina. I suppose I'll just ask a question, I think from the group. The number one question, you probably know, Tyson, what is, get more students, isn't it? So how have you any comments to make on that? I know you've made 500,000 and you have what 1,400 students in one school, so I think you might know a thing or two.
It's so with my clients, one thing I've discovered is how with my model in Japan, it's I help or we have some instead of states or counties, like we have prefectures. So there's like 40 prefectures in Japan. So I only take one client per prefecture. And what I've found is that Google search, search engine optimization, I found. So I think this applies more for Karen, probably in Seoul, or if you were to open your own thing. But I found that local Google search competition and Google Maps competition is really low. So I've been able to help a lot of my clients get into the top for that. And what I mean by that, if you compete at a local level, usually the companies are not big enough to hire a professional search engine optimization expert. In my case, I was able to get, I'm number one for in-person in Tokyo. For Japanese lessons in Tokyo, I'm number one. But for online Japanese lessons, I'm probably ranked fifth or sixth. And like, I'm going to have to spend like, or if I'm leaving now, but if I were to spend one more year, like I'll have to spend like just crazy amount of time on SEO just because like online Japanese lessons, that really is a battlefield keyword. So I think one thing I discovered for marketing is in person, at least like, in a country like China, Japan, Korea, maybe even Indonesia if you're targeting local, but there's a lot of opportunities for local SEO and MEO is Google Maps. So that's my first one for marketing. I would say for the teachers out there who are thinking of branching out, I think it really is all about niching. So I think Aurelia mentioned TOEFL. What I like about TOEFL is there's a score and it's easy to market. Meaning, like say if I'm a TOEFL teacher, I've been doing it for 10, 20 years. I know all the strategies. I know how long it'll, based on your current level, I can tell you how long it'll take to get to this level, and this is how you get there. As someone who does like TOEFL or something very specific where there's a score, it's a very easy sell. And in Japan, one of the business models is they use something called TOEIC, which is different, but there's point totals, and they say like go through our $3,000 course, will increase your score by let's say I'll use in English terms. I'll say you're a high beginner now, you'll leave as an intermediate, or sorry, maybe like low intermediate in 3 months.
I also
But they
find
have
with TOEFL,
specific scores.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I also find with TOEFL, it's a very finite engagement with the student for a very, very specific reason. And yeah, it's been that one, it appeals to me. And two, yeah, I find it relatively easy to get TOEFL students, but I'm still sort of confused about how to get those business people who are like, I've got this marketing collateral and I want to translate it into English because I want to be branching out, into the global business world.
So in Karen's case, I'll say, in your case, Karen, I think it's if I were like, a customer acquisition point of view, it's really focusing on a target market and like so like being the person for that. So in my case, I think the smartest business decision I could have focused on I could have been the growth expert for language schools and teachers. Like that's the only thing I do. I know this industry like the back of my hand. That would be if I were creating a business solely to grow big quickly, that would be my business because all my attention would be focused on one thing. I would be the expert. People would come to me for that. But in my case, like because I ran operations at a pretty big company, like my brain just I need new problems to solve. So if I just focus on just language schools, like I'll probably get bored because I'll be like, I've already solved this problem. But so that's what I mean. But I think in your case, I would probably narrow down more for Karen. And that's why it's and I think you'll just get more students in that one area. And how you would approach it is you'll focus on the niche, you'll focus on marketing techniques for that niche. Like let's say maybe social media, you'll do webinars. You'll do kind of seminars, and you'll be out there as the person for this one thing. So I think that's where Rita has a really good selling point, because Rita is the expert for this one area. And everyone who takes her course, they're like, this is the best course. They refer their friends. And so in, I think Rita's case, she could get away with not being a marketer because she just has so much big reputation. And the reason I think that's good for teachers, because to become an internet marketer is going to take 2-3 years to be good, or you're going to have to pay somebody. But the problem is, do you know enough of marketing to not get scammed?
Right.
And so in my case, I had the teaching background, the HR or the management background, but actually when I created the Japanese school, like, because I could do the operations, it's really easy, but I just really spent 30 hours a week on marketing, because that was the key skill to grow the school. And so so I think for marketing, so the question is, and I'll go to Rob. Rob will be the first person I ask. So for the marketing, it's really like, why should people go to you? But I have other thoughts, but let me get to Rob's question first.
Well, mine is sort of not so much a question, but it's a question that I think you need to ask, everybody here needs to ask themselves, is what are you looking to do? How big are you looking to get? And, with respect to Tyson, you're basically a good business person and you have business background. Same with me. The point is, I'm here to be a teacher, and I don't need 2,000 students. I'm not looking to grow. In fact, I got rid of all my teachers so I could run my own basic business and just teach again like I used to. Make it fun. Keep in mind, I've seen this for many years in many subjects. Teachers know absolutely nothing about business, and it's very difficult to teach a teacher about business. So you need to decide, are you going to be a teacher or are you going to be a business person? And then when you get into the marketing, like you said, Tyson, 2 years, is it worth it? I've had my company now for 20 years. I haven't advertised once, because as a business person, what I do is I work my students and get referrals, and they call other businesses to put me in there. So I don't have to advertise. And, I know we're talking about scaling, but you can admit, Tyson, it ain't easy to build something the size of what you've built. And do you think somebody who's never studied business, who doesn't even know when you say SEO what you're talking about, is going to be able to do that? So, with people like Lisa, you said you're small with 5 people. Great. Work those 5 people and ask them each for 3 friends, and soon you're going to have 10 people. And then work them, and you don't have to learn how to build a website. You don't have to be on social media every single day putting posts like a lot of my friends are. And you know what? They spend more time doing marketing than they do teaching. And doing marketing doesn't make you money, it loses you money because you lose time. That's my opinion.
Gotcha. So I agree. I would say marketing buys me time because I can scale much faster. But I think for your
If you're
point of,
scaling, yeah.
I think for your point of maybe most people here being teachers, I agree that niching is the way to go. And if you niche properly, you don't need to learn marketing for the reasons that Rob explained.
Yep.
And if you do have to go the marketing route, it is ridiculously tough. Especially if you want to do online, like it really takes 2 years, 3 years
Yeah.
of just really learning how to do marketing, and that's how competitive online is. So that's why I think as a teacher, I think local is either you're really niched, but or meaning if you do go online, you have to niche, or if you're local, let's say you could be a little bit more general.
You know, in talking about local like that, I often tell teachers when I, talk about building their business, sometimes you're better off with one of those little posters with the little pull-off tab and put them up in your neighborhood. Because once you start advertising online, now your customer base is the world. I want to make money. You spend so much time with people, well, I can only afford $1. Will you give me that? No, I want my target market is going to pay me $100 to $200 an hour. So why am I mass marketing for 1 million people, when I'm one teacher? So there's a lot of caveats. But yeah, great if you're looking to build a business, and great what you've done, Tyson. It's a great achievement. I don't think that's for every teacher. I mean, teacher. It's for business people.
I'd like to be a journeyman. That's what I'd like to do.
So it's like well, Tyson, Dean Rogers here in Tokyo, and I think when I did a podcast with him, he gave that advice. How do you get business? Stand on the street with a shirt and tie and hand out your business. Just people going by. He said, "What's the most important thing for marketing? How you look, especially in Japan. If you look kind of professional, shirt and tie." He said that a lot of people he competed against, they were wearing t-shirts and looked a bit scruffy. It's just the kind of basics. Sorry, Nina, go ahead. I'm waffling there.
Yeah, I think Rob is right in the sense that you want to know how big you want to get, which is actually answering the question: is do you want to build a business or do you want to be a solo entrepreneur? And if that's your answer, yes, I want to be a solo entrepreneur, because I want to create a sort of a system that I can operate within. Maybe I'll get another couple of teachers somewhere down the line. Maybe it will just be me. But you're going from just a tutor who gets students to somebody who can actually manage a few systems. And that would be the solo entrepreneur, or I think they call it the solopreneur. And in that case, I would disagree, Rob, with the fact that you don't have to know a lot about business as a teacher to go in that direction. That you can work on your instincts. You can use your instincts, because as teachers, we already have the skill or the sensitivity to know what our students need, what our students want, and what their problems are. So what their problems are, what their wants are, what their needs are, you transfer that sensitivity to your customer or your potential customer. And you see people, when you're dealing with a potential customer, you would think about their problems, you would think about their needs, you would think about their wants. So you don't have to know a lot about marketing and marketing strategies and SEO and all those, because Tyson is right. That is a learning curve, and you don't want to embark on
it. Yeah, I agree with you, Nina, but of course, as teachers, we're great with the needs analysis and everything. We have to get in front of somebody, though. And that's where the business person comes in, not the teacher. That's the point that I'm making about understanding running a business. But yes. I agree with you. We know how to do needs analysis. We know how to serve our, client, but we need to get them. That was the point. Thanks.
Yeah.
Rita, yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a problem that a lot of teachers have is they don't know what they should be charging. They don't know what their value is. And I don't know if you can say anything on that, Tyson or Rob.
Yeah, the pricing is pricing is probably I would say it's harder than marketing. Getting pricing right. I would say it's an art form, and I wouldn't say that's my biggest strength. So it's I might pass it on to Rob while I think about it a little bit more
All
to
right.
have a very
Well, yeah, this is hard because you need to make a decision. For instance, I have a friend of mine who markets, be a six-digit income. That's great because she lives in Singapore and there's a lot of money. But what if you're living in Brazil, like I did, or in India? You have to figure out how much you're willing to take. Now, what I did when I got to Brazil is I found out what are English teachers charging there. And I doubled the price, and that was my charge. And people said, oh, well, I can find an English teacher for a lot cheaper. And I said, and I can find a student who's not worried about money, but worried about the outcome. And move on. You got to go price yourself high. Especially like Tyson was saying, Rita, you've got a reputation. You're not, as we say, the backpacker teacher that suddenly discovered how to use Zoom and is teaching English. You're worth your value. And then what you have to decide is where are you willing to work and for how little. For example, when I teach in Europe, let's say I charge $100 an hour in Europe. There's no way I can get that out of a student in Russia or Belarus or even Brazil. And if I decide I want to work in that area, I have to be willing to take a price cut. And the best way to use it, something that they do in business all the time, it's called the Big Mac factor. And you just look up how much does it cost for a Big Mac meal, where you're charging. If I charge $100, let's say in Europe that's 4 Big Mac meals. So I go to Brazil, I see the price of 4 Big Macs, and that's my price in Brazil. It's a standard business thing that's used for pricing.
That's really interesting. Thank you.
it is an actual index, a pricing index is
Yeah.
the Big Mac pricing index
Yeah,
to show to show the purchasing power of
Mhm.
the average individual in that country.
Yeah, it's perfect, and companies have been using it for years. Just Google Big Mac Index, and you'll find the chart. But it's a great way of doing things.
I think Rob said some great points, and Rob, thanks for giving me some time to think about my answer.
Good.
And it's and one thought I had is what I like about, so I guess one, it's I think Rob mentioned the basics. How do you anchor your price towards something else? So like what can you use as a basis for your price? And so I guess the underlying question is I want to charge more. And that really, it comes back to that niching again. If you're an expert in this one area, anyone who's really serious about that one area, let's say it could be TOEFL, TOEIC, they'll be willing to pay that money. So one case is if you did TOEFL, you would charge a lot of money for the lesson, but you'll also give them access to like homework and stuff like that afterwards. So that's one. Also, I think another thing to think about is time. So in my case, actually coming from a marketing with my business coaching for clients, I actually didn't want to do any sales. I mean, for the beginning, so it's like, how do you get students? So for the sales, I called 200 people and sent like 200 emails. And it's so I mean that's how I got a lot of my clients is through that. But it's eventually I just want people to come in normally. So in my case, actually, I probably could charge $200. I could charge some clients $300 easily based on the type of information they want. But in my case, I don't want to sign an NDA. I don't want all these management and I don't want all this responsibility. I just want them to come for me to 1 hour. I'll give them advice and I'm happy. And so I want my business to be as simple as possible. I don't really want management. I want my payments to be simple. So it's like, and when you charge a lot of money, they want you to adopt to their system. But I'm like, no, please adopt to my system. I'm going to automatically deduct. I can't answer any questions outside of sessions unless, and if your question is serious, just buy another session. So in my case, I optimize for time. So that's why I lowered the actual, or in my case, like I want the freedom of schedule. So I want to say like maybe next month, I want to take these days off. And so in my case, my pricing was optimized for freedom as opposed to generate the most revenue possible and simplicity, and I just rather coach people than do operations. So my price is optimized for that.
Yeah.
Tyson, if you wouldn't mind putting your details in the chat as well, because Tyson does offer one-to-one coaching for people who want it as well. So if you wouldn't mind put your email or contact details there, and
Okay.
if they're
Yeah, and I think on the website as well, like I think as a teacher starting out, my prices would be a bit too pricey, but I do have in the blog section, I've done other podcasts. I have quite a few webinars on like, how to grow your company or how to focus your time for free. And I'll put that in the chat.
Great. And
cool. Thanks,
have
Karen.
we got other questions for Tyson? I know he's a mine of information. And Tyson, I'll chat to you maybe a little bit later on Facebook or something. We'll, about people want to follow up with you a little bit if they have any follow-up questions. If you wouldn't mind, Aurelia, please. Yes.
Yes, I was wondering. We were talking about going online, and the thought there about 2 to 3 years it takes to grow your business that way. What is happening during that time? What is the process?
Good question. So sorry, my question of 2 to 3 years, it meant it takes 2 to 3 years to learn marketing to a level where you can compete online.
Okay. So the growth is on our part, not necessarily making, getting the students acquainted with us or anything like that. It's more or less us learning the skill of doing it.
That is correct. But the answer to your question is, so if you were to start an online business, what should you do? The steps would probably be for the first 3 to 6, probably for the first 6 months, you're probably going to be teaching on someone else's platform. So what I mean by that is you'll probably have to join a lot of sites that offer teaching services. And then you'll do that, then you'll kind of figure out how online is different from in person. Then you have to kind of think about, okay, how can I make my lessons stand out more online? So maybe you can offer like free ebooks, you could offer you could create ebooks, or you could create like a kind of homework, like just materials for students so they can get a lot out of you. Then eventually you'll try to get maybe 30, 50 students and try to get them to move off those platforms and pay you directly.
Okay, thank you.
And
good old-fashioned poaching, yeah. And some I think I had a chat with Elena Mutinono a few weeks back, and she said exactly the same thing. So
I just made it up. So I'm glad someone else. So I just made up that strategy right now. So I'm glad someone who's very knowledgeable had the same opinion as well.
It's like the funnel idea, and it goes back to, you give them something for free, and then you keep emailing them until they either drop dead or you get tired of sending them emails. And it's one way of doing it. I look at it, growing up as a kid, Karen, you probably remember, and Aurelia, seeing the infomercials where the guy is, for $9.95, you get the Ginsu knife. And I kind of feel like it's that kind of marketing. And for me, I think it takes away from my teaching profession.
Oh, no, I wasn't recommending email marketing, actually. What I was recommending is more giving ebooks to her students, actual students, and just giving, because it's online and you want to charge more, you just give them not just the lessons, you try to give them value outside the lessons as well.
Okay.
So not an email.
All right, good.
Anybody else? Lisa, Aziz, Nina, Kate, have you any questions for Tyson?
I'd like to contact Tyson again. I was just looking at your website, Tyson, and that's just book the consultation in there, or do you prefer something else?
Booking the consultation is fine. Then it's I'll probably just I would want to double check in advance, kind of like what problem, or I guess what are your two biggest problems that you would like my help on? And I guess what is your timeline and what is the ideal outcome you'd like to see?
Right.
And based on that, I can determine like if we're a good fit or not.
Yep. Great. Thanks.
And I'll write down those questions too. It's what are your two biggest challenges? What is your time frame for solving them? And biggest challenge, which time frame for solving them, and what is the ideal outcome you would like to see?
And Tyson, I know you're the master of scaling and success and high flyers, but for people just starting out, solopreneurs, a few people who are making the leap into, entrepreneurship, running their own thing, we get a little. It's a little bit intimidating at the beginning and disheartening, isn't it?
Very disheartening.
So, any tips on, if something's not working out? Sometimes we decide to go after an area and we say, oh, it's not working, we'll try a different area, and then nothing works. You just scale, you hone your message, and you keep the work in, or when should you cut your losses, or just. I know there's a lot of questions there, but
so I'll say if I was a teacher who was employed full time and have comfortable employment, how I would approach it is I'll probably spend 2 to 3 months just not even like going outward. I'll probably just be doing research, just kind of looking like at what are the opportunity, or like what do the students want to learn, and what skills do I have matches what people want to learn. So it's really just choosing the right area that matches you that you would like to do. So in my case, I had to move suddenly from Tokyo to I'm in the winter part of, or the cold part of Japan. Like I was in Tokyo for 10 years and I made the decision to leave in 2 weeks because my wife had a family emergency. And based on that, I had to actually at 2 weeks to step down from my position as a director, or like let's say kind of executive team. And I had 15 days and I'm like, oh crap, I'm losing more than half my salary. And I want to send my daughter to international school. And I thought like I could do career coaching. I was like, no, that's hard to, or it's people are interested, but they're too price sensitive. And I would have to spend all this time trying to convince them, like with marketing and sales. And I was like, okay, but what should I do then? I was like, okay, but I know how to make money quick. And it's like, okay, why don't I just help people scale their companies? I have the experience, I can get results, and I know how long it'll take to get them results. And so I chose that area because what I found just as a business person is just choosing the right area is more important than doing things. So if you choose the right area, a lot of things will just kind of work out. So I think as a teacher, I would say, don't rush. Just look what's available, talk to other teachers, just see what's in demand in the market that matches what you want to do, then go to that area. And even One Coin English, the reason we got so successful, it's people weren't price sensitive, but they increased the sales tax from 4 to 10%. People suddenly became very price sensitive, and we had this school chain of 4, and it's just everyone ignored the higher price competitors and just went to us. So like it was just we had the right idea. And so scale, like if you want to go big, having the right idea, but also even as just a solopreneur, I think if you just have that right idea, then you won't need the marketing, you won't need the sales, and you can just
So,
focus on teaching.
can you talk quickly about the case studies you mentioned on your website?
Gotcha. There are quite a few, and a lot of them actually don't apply to language schools, but was there any in particular that got your attention?
Yes, the one where you have results increase revenue by 25,000 within
They
2
weren't a
months.
language school, so I'll set it down. So I do have some clients where they make it's more they deal with corporate, so they deal with corporations. So in that case, I would say that one was a social media marketing agency. And in their case, a lot of their time was wasted between fighting between people. And like, let's say they had big projects and they kept getting in fights with the customers because the customers don't know what they want. They had some investors who wanted to say what they wanted to say, and it just created all this confusion and it created a lot of headaches. So in their case, I just created a project management format. It's this person is in charge of this investor, they have no say in this area. Only this person can make a decision on this. And so in their case, they're able to save a lot of time. They didn't have to waste all this time in communication. And so with that extra time, they focused it on sales and they got more big corporate clients. So sorry, that one doesn't apply to language schools. I guess actual cases for language schools is I got them to rank top 3 for Google business for Google Map search in 2 weeks to 2 months. Then I got them ranking in SEO after 4 to 6 months. And as a one school owner, they're probably saving, or let's say the value based on being in a city of 100,000 people, I'll say maybe they save $2,000 a month on marketing just based on their market size and being the physical location in a small area. So I would say, or basically they can address a population of maybe 15,000 people and increasing their acquisition by like $2,000 a month. Go ahead, Rita.
Can you say anything about franchising? I mean, because I would be quite interested in, because of my age, I'd be quite interested in empowering other trainers to deliver my approach. I mean, that's a bit further along the line, but how does one set about that?
Yes, I think for your situation, I think the challenge is in that case, to make a really successful franchise, that one involves a lot of marketing because you're going to try to create a brand. Like, like TOEFL, they have a brand.
Right.
So it's easy to sell the franchise. So I'm trying to think of a way to do that without marketing, but my first thought is that's going to take a lot of marketing.
Right.
But to answer your question, Rita, if you were to do franchising, I would probably recommend one possibility. I don't know if there's enough people, but you would probably have to do a podcast.
Uh-huh.
Then you would become a well-known podcaster for that area. Then you create the franchise.
Right.
But I wouldn't create the franchise probably without having that audience. But yeah, I'll let Rob answer, and that might give me more time to think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would say as an alternative to franchising is sell the product to an existing franchise. Like find a big school like Maple Bear is growing like crazy right now all over the world. Sell the product to them. A lot less work to call on one location than it is to have to deal with everything. You know?
And Rob's answer, it's because when you do franchising, you have the distribution problem. And what I mean by distribution is just getting your product or service in front of someone. And so that's why I was like thinking, oh my God, franchising, there's going to be a lot of marketing branding. And Rob's solution is partner with someone who has distribution already. So you don't have to build that out.
That's a good idea. Because I'm at the moment I'm doing voluntarily. For my sins, I am the English language consultant for curriculum and materials development for voluntary service overseas worldwide. So I'm being engaged to work with the Ethiopian government to roll out a program for their schools. So that's quite a big thing. But that's me as a volunteer, and I'm very happy to give it to Ethiopia. I'm not happy to give it to oligarchs.
Oh. So I think, and I think for Rob's feedback, I mean, it's I think if you understand the concept that he taught right now, as opposed to just let's say focus on like Maple Bear or something, the concept is find someone with distribution.
Yeah. Great. That's really helpful. Thanks, Rob.
My pleasure. We have to keep you not tied up because you have to speak for BSIG.
I know. Thank you.
Great. I think we ran over a little bit of time. I actually didn't know that the web how long it would take. I think the sweet spot maybe for a webinar is maybe 75, 90 minutes, something like that. So I think an hour is probably a little bit too short, and we probably had to introducing ourselves. So I'll find a way to streamline that as well, and prepare in advance and do all these things. So I've learned a lot this evening. So Tyson, thanks again. I'll be in contact with your message, and you please do get in contact with Tyson if you like to work with him, and I'll be in contact. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. I'll add one more link. I actually have a specific landing page just for schools, and that and I think for March, and just kind of a caveat, March I'm transitioning out of OneCoin English, so I'm let's say I can't really do anything pro bono in March because I'm crazy busy just trying to get everything ready for my other company. But I think in April, let's say I could answer kind of, or Philip, I can answer like maybe questions in the group.
Yeah,
but for March I would have to be just purely sales.
Okay.
But April is I could do more pro bono stuff.
So what I was thinking is we can say it here is in the WhatsApp group is just maybe I'll put you in for a week, and people, or I don't know, 5 days for that. I don't know how long, but people can maybe ask a few questions in the group, and then we can that's that as a kind of follow up. Because people, after the webinar, I was like, oh, I should have asked this, or what about that? So that's how it works. Get value from it. So thanks again to everybody for coming. We'll have a chat again with the group in maybe a couple of weeks. I think we could chat in a couple of weeks, and I have some people lined up. Actually, the franchising, I've thought of somebody who might like to talk to the group about franchising. So yeah, that's a good idea. I'm learning all the time for the needs of people. And yeah, if you have any questions, me or anybody, send me a message, or my email anyway. So great. Thanks again to everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tyson.
And Rob, thanks for answering and giving me time to sound more intelligent. So thanks for the teamwork.
You were great.
Thank you, Tyson.